Hello everybody, today we're going to start our fifth session of tutorials. Today we are going to look at the numerical problems of chapter 9 and chapter 10. First problem number 1 from the chapter 9. As you can see there we have the consumption equation, desired consumption equation, and we have the desired investment equation, and we will have to find an equation relating desired national saving to R and Y. To do so, we will use the equation of desired savings, which you can see here, and after that we just substitute all the values into this equation. So we replace desired consumption by this equation, as you can see, and we use government purchases as 2,000 as given in the problem. So after that, after calculations, we will have the final equation. This is the desired national saving equation. For sub-question B, we will have to use both forms of the goods market equilibrium condition and have to find value of the real interest rate when our output 10,000 and 10,200, and we should graph IS curve. So as you can see in the screen, first we use the first condition of the goods market equilibrium, and in the second option you can see the second condition of goods market equilibrium. So by the first option, you will have to also substitute all the values, all the equations of the desired consumption and desired investment, and there is government purchases is also 2,000. After the calculations, we will have this final equation, and by the second option there is the same manipulations. We will desired savings equation we defined in the previous sub-question. It is here in sub-question A. So we just use this equation and equate to the desired investment. And desired investment is given in the problem. So after the calculation, we will also have the final equation, which looks like that. Then we'll use the values of output as 10,000 and 10,200 and solve the equation. So we have interest rate 5% when output is 10,000 and 3% when our output is to 10,200. Next step is to construct the graph. Here you can see that when we have 10,000 of output, our interest rate will be 0.05, which is 5%, and when our output is 10,200, then the R is 0.03. Then we connect these two points, and we will have the IS curve. Okay, let's take a look at the sub-question C. There we have the government purchases as 2,400, And how does this increase change the equation for national saving in part A? What value of the real interest rate clears the goods market when output is 10,000? Use both forms of the goods market equilibrium condition. How is the IS curve affected by the increase in G? When our government purchases is equal to 2,400, our desired saving becomes this formula. We get this from the first sub-equation A. Here we just substitute 2,000 by 2,400, and then we will have not 6,000 but 6,400 minus 6,400. So our desired savings is now national savings is now 400 less for any given R and Y. Use the first goods market equilibrium condition. Then we will get this final equation. Okay, and by using the second condition of the goods market equilibrium, which you can see here, after the mathematical manipulations, we will have the same final equation for the case. So by using the second condition, we have pre-final equation, which is look like this, and we can rewrite it as y is equals to, because we are using this equation, yes, y is equals to this, and y is equals, and this all is shortened, and at the end we'll have y is equal to 8,800 minus 8,000 multiplied to r plus 0.2 y, and we just collect all y's to the left side of the equation, and then we will have the final image of our equation, which is the same as in the previous options equation. So after that, we will just replace y by 10,000, and it will give us interest rate as 0.1. Here we just multiply. So we have 8,000. Yes, you can hear 8,000 multiply r, which is equal to 8,800 minus, in the brackets, 0.8 multiplied to 10,000, which is our y, which is our output. And then here we have the 8,000, and 8,800 minus 8,000 will give us 800. So 8,000 multiply interest rate is equal to 800, and after the calculation we will have the interest rate equals to 10%. We just show it on our graph, and here you can see that at the output, when the output is equal to 10,000, interest rate is raised to from 5% to 10%, and here we have the new a new point, new graph of IS. We can also use 10,200 as an output, and we will also have the increased interest rate. So the market clearing real interest rate increases from 0.05 to 0.1. Thus, the IS curve shifts up and to the right. To the right from the initial IS. Then you can see here problem number 4 from the chapter 9. Here you can see a lot of values, a lot of equations, and we will have to find the general equilibrium levels of the real wage, employment, and output. And from here you can see that this is the labor market, yes. And for the labor market equilibrium, we will use the equation of the labor supply and labor demand. For labor supply, we will use the equation from the ABC book and from them. And in the problem, we can see that labor supply curve, we have the equation for the labor supply, and for the labor demand, we will use the real wage equation. But here we have only the equation for marginal product of labor, but as we know, the firm's higher labor at the point where the marginal product of labor is equals to the real wage, because it is more profitable. Yes, so we use the function of marginal product of labor as a real wage function. So here we just replace the NPN equation here, and then substituting the latter equation into the former and equating labor supply and the labor demand, it will give us 100. Yeah, we use the formula which where we can equate labor supply and labor demand, and just use this formula. So we have the N is equal to 100. After that, we can find the real wage value and labor supply value, and finally we can find the full employment output. To define output, we will use this equation, which is given also in ABC book, and here just substituting by using the values of N, and we also have the values of F2 and F1 and A. We have all the values, and here we can find that our output is equals to 950. This is the second part of fifth tutorial, and so we are gonna look at the subquestion B of problem number 4, chapter 9. For any level of output, find an equation that gives the real interest rate that clears the goods market. This equation describes the IS curve, and there is the hint. There we should look at the goods market. So again, we are looking at the goods market, and here we have the condition for the goods market equilibrium, and just substituting all the equations that we have. For example, desired consumption function here, we are not substituting G, we just remain it as itself, and here we just simplifying the function, the equation. Here you can see the simplifications, y minus t, which is in the bracket. So we just use the t equation that is in the problem. So it is t equals to 20 plus 0.5 y. So we just replace it, and we'll get, and after that we will multiply it to 0.8, and we will have this value, and we put it here instead of this, yes, instead of this part. So we have this image of our equation. Then we're using the second condition of the goods market equilibrium. Here we just use our desired savings. Desired savings. This is the final equation of our desired savings. It is come from this formula. We just simplify it, and we will get at the end this equation. This is the desired savings. So we just replace it here, and we equate it to the desired investment equation. So after the simplification and gathering all interest rates on the left side and other values on the right side, we will have this kind of equation. Then we're using G in government purchases as it is given in the problem. G is equals to 50, and replace it in our final equation, and we will get the equation for the interest rate. And from the previous subquestion, subquestion A, we've got output, full employment output, which is equals to 950, and we just substitute it here in this equation in order to find interest rate, and we have interest rate is equals to 0.05. After that, we use these values to find desired consumption and desired investment values. So you can do this by using the given equations of consumption, desired consumption and desired investment in the problem, and just substituting all the known values, you will get desired consumption equals to 654, and desired investments is equals to 246. Then move on. There is subquestion C. So for any level of output, we will have to use the asset market, and this equation describes the LM curve. We will have to find equation that gives the real interest rate in asset market. So we'll look at an asset market equilibrium, and setting money demand equal to money supply. We will give this equation. This is money demand and money supply. And we have money supply equals to 9,150, and this is the equation for the money demand. We just replace all the known values from the problem. For example, P, which is equals to 0.02, and at the end we will get this kind of simplified equation, and after that you can see the steps here in order to find the function of interest rate, and also we will use the full employment output, which is 9,950, and we'll also replace interest rate, which we've found in part B. Here, yes, which is 0.05, and by replacing it, yes, here 0.05 multiplied to 150 equals to the rest of the formula, and after the simplification we will have the p value which is equal to 20. So part D, suppose that government purchases increase to G is equals to 72.5. Now what are the general equilibrium values of the real wage, employment output, the real interest rate, consumption, investment, and price level? To do so, first with given G, the IS curve becomes, given G, our interest rate becomes, our equation for IS curve becomes this, and using using the full employment output 950, we will get our interest rate is equals to 10%, and the LM curve then will give us price level is equals to 20.56. Then we'll calculate the consumption, yes, by just substituting all the values to the formula, to the equation, and we will have the consumption is equal to 644, and investment is equals to 233.5. The real wage, employment, and output are unaffected by the change. We're gonna look at the problem number 2 of the chapter 10. Here we have the the values of desired consumption, desired investment, and so on. Here we should mind also that taxes are equals to government expenditure. T is the total taxes collected, and first sub-question A, we have the money supplies 4,320. G is equals to 150. Use the classic IS-LM model. We should find equilibrium values of output, real interest rate, price level, consumption, and investment. And here's a hint: in the classical model, output always equals its full employment level, and full employment level here is 2,210. Okay, the IS curve gives us the equation y. Using this equation, we will have the 600 plus 0.5 y minus t, and we just substitute all the values that we have from the problem, and just simplify this equation. We will get at the end this imagine of our equation, then we will just multiply it by the 2, and we will have the y equals to the next equation. From the LM curve, we will have real money demand, which is given by this formula, and then we will use it and equate money supply, money demand, and write it like this. We'll just also simplify it by using the all values that we know, and at the end we will have this final simplified LM curve equation. From the first sub-question A, we will have these values, and for IS curve, we use Y. We use G. We just substitute G and T, and we have this kind of equation, simplified equation. But as we know regarding our hint, that our output is equals to full employment output, which is 2,210. We just equate it to the remain of our simplified equation, and we will finally have this kind of equation where we can find interest rate, which is equals to 0.2, and using this value we can use it in the LM curve. And here we also have the money supply 4,320 divided by P, which is equal to this equation, and we substitute all the known values, and finally we can find the price level, which is equals to 4, and after that we can find the consumption and investment during this given formulas, and we just again use all the known values. We get that consumption is equal to 1,620, and investment is 440. This is the third part of the fifth tutorial session, where remain at the second problem of the chapter 10, part B. The money supply rises to 4,752. Repeat, part A is money neutral. To do so, IS curve doesn't change, because when we increase money supply, nothing in IS curve is affected. So output and interest rate are the same as in part A, as our consumption and investment. The LM curve becomes like this. Looks like this, and we can see that our price is changed to 4.4, and we can say that no real variables are affected, and the price level rises 10%, just as the money supply did. So money is neutral. What about the part C? With the money supply back at 4,320, government purchases and taxes rises to 190. We should repeat part A. Assume for simplicity that y is a fixed, is fiscal cost neutral in this case. And our government purchases and taxes are 190, where our IS curve shifts because y, using the equations that we have found in the previous parts, we have y is equal to this equation, and just substitute the new t and new g. We will get, it looks like that, yes. And after that, we are also using the unchanged Y full employment output, which is equal to 2,210. Yes, it was given, and we just equate it to the remaining part with the changed G and T, and we will get a new interest rate, which is 0.4. For the LM, from the LM curve, we can see we can use this interest rate, and we calculate it. Yes, we substitute all the values, and we will get price equals to 4.075. And after that, we can find the consumption and interest and investment. Consumption is equals to 1,590. You can see the calculations here, and our investment is 430. There is also given the calculation. So fiscal policy is not neutral, since the change in policy has real effects on the interest rate, consumption, and investment. Okay, let's move on. Now we're gonna look at the problem number 4, chapter 10. Here we have AD and AC curve. We have full employment output, which is 500, and money supply, which is 400. Suppose that expected price is 60. What are the equilibrium values of the price level P and output? We should find the price level and the output Y. The solutions for P in this part and in part B are multiplied to 10. Okay. First of all, at the expected price 60. We will set AD equals to AS to eliminate output. We have aggregated demand and aggregate supply from the problem, and we just equate it among each other, and we will get this kind of formula. And by simplifying it, we will at the end have this kind of image: 400 plus 1,200 divided to P, which is equal to 10P. We multiply it. We multiply both sides by P divided to 10, and we will get our equation look like that. Then this can be factored into P minus 60 multiply P plus 20, which is equals to 0. P cannot be negative, so the only solution to this equation is P is equals to 60. At this equilibrium, P is equals to expected P. So we have the output is equals to 500, and the economy is at full employment output. Part B, an unanticipated increase raises the money supply to M equals to 700 because the increase is unanticipated. Expected price remains at 60. What are the equilibrium values of the price level P and output Y? With an anticipated increase in money supply, which is 700, the expected price level is unchanged at which is 60. The aggregate demand curve will be like this. Plugging in the values of M and expected price gives us a simplified equation. The aggregate supply curve is here. And after the simplification, we will get 10p minus 100. Setting AD equals to AS to eliminate outputs, it will give us this equation. Just divide it to 10 to simplify our calculations. We will get p minus 40 minus 2100 divided to p equals to 0. This can be factored, then multiplying through by p gives us the function like this, and this can be factored as p minus 70 multiplied p plus 30 equals to 0. We know that the p cannot be negative sign, so p equals to 70. From AD curve, so our price will be the 70. So from the AD curve, we can find output, which is 600. So part C, the Fed announces that the money supply will be increased to 700, which the public believes. Now, what are the equilibrium values of the price level, the expected price level, and output? To calculate it, we should mention that when money supply is 700, and according the problem, this is the anticipated case. So our price is equals to expected price. Then the AD curve is described by this equation, and aggregate supply curve will be y equals to 500 because because of this condition. So setting AD equals to AS to eliminate y, we will get 500 equals to 300 plus 21,000 divided to p, and from this equation we will get price is equals to 105.